Well, good morning to you once again from the sports desk. Mamelodi Sundowns and Orlando Pirates dominated at this year's PSL Awards. Sundowns were awarded the Chairman's Award for their participation at the FIFA Club World Cup and for bagging their 8th consecutive Premiership title. Kabuyelo attacker Lucas Ribeiro Costa was the big winner on the night, walking away with 4 accolades. Pirates were also big winners as Sipho Chaine, Relebohile Mofokeng, Nkosinathi, Sibisi and Makhahlene Makhaula all bagged Betway Premiership Awards. Mofokeng and Mbekeza Limpogazi won MTN 8 and Nedbank Cup awards respectively. Now joining us now to speak more on this year's ceremony is Soccer Laduma senior reporter Tshepang Mailwane. Tshepang, a very good morning and thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, Gwen, and good morning to the viewers.
Let's start. Any big surprises, or did it go as we expected as far as the PSL Awards were concerned last night?
To be honest, for me, no big surprises. I mean, we knew that Ribeiro Costa was, head and shoulders above the rest last season, the way he performed for Mamelodi Sundowns. And for me, it came as no surprise that he won the award. He was top class last season for Sundowns, with goals, with assists, and just his overall influence in the team at Sundowns. He came up with some very important goals. So hardly a surprise that he won the 2 big awards, Footballer of the Season and Players Player. And even with other awards like midfielder, defender, for me, I didn't see any surprises. I know there are a few people who thinking just because Mamelodi Sundowns won the title, they should automatically win all those other awards. But the Pirates players made a really big impact last season, so I'm not surprised to see them winning the other awards as well.
Speaking of surprises, in the finalists, both in the Player of the Season and Players Player, you had, a player that many would have thought, why is he there? Why is he also playing for a smaller team? I mean, what do you make of Aguero being part of the final 3 in the 2 big awards?
Look, he did well for Sekhukhune last season, Keletso. And it's great that he was able to bounce back in the way he did, because at some point it looked like his career was going nowhere. But now he came back and played a big role. And according to stats, he created the most chances last season of any other player in the league. But I felt that if there was anyone who had to be in the top 3 for me, Ikram Reyners at Mamelodi Sundowns did so well for the club, both with goals and assists. And even there was a time where he had a bit of a goal drought, but he was still making an impact for the club in attack, especially with those assists that he came through with. And I felt that he also, looking at the fact that it was his first season and he was able to come in there in Mamelodi Sundowns, combine well with Lucas Ribeiro Costa, combine well whenever Peter Shalulile was on the pitch. So I felt that he should have been in there ahead of Keletso. I'm not downplaying what Keletso did for Sekhukhune, but if it were up to me, I would have honestly had Ikram ahead of Keletso. But Keletso did well for Sekhukhune.
Absolutely. It's great to see his resurgence after, playing so well for Mamelodi Sundowns in the past. And his career looked like it was on the downward there. I want to touch also on the coaching, Tshepang. Was it also a foregone conclusion that the coach that wins the league is automatically going to be coach of the season?
At times, that's how it's happened in South African football. And I'm not always a fan of the coach who wins the league, winning coach of the season. Yes, you've beaten everyone else to the league title. But at times, there are other stories that, deserve to be recognized. And at times, these people deserve to win the award. I mean, you look at what happens in the English Premier League. It's not always the coach that wins the league that is named coach of the season. When you look at a team like Stellenbosch, for example, they lost Reyners, they lost Jaden Adams, they lost Dino van Rooyen. These are 3 key players, but the fact that they were still able to finish in the top 3 and qualify for the CAF Confed Cup again, while they were playing in the Confed Cup last season because they reached the semi-finals there, that's a good story to tell, because they don't have the resources of a Mamelodi Sundowns or of an Orlando Pirates. So at times I do feel that not always the coach who wins the league should be the one winning that award, because there are other beautiful stories out there with coaches working hard with less resources. But just to add there, I do feel that Miguel Cardoso did well, especially because he came in I think it was just 7 games into the season, and they were able to break some records along the way. So, and he didn't need a preseason. Yes, he joined the squad that was already gelling and, a team that has already the quality. But I still feel he did well because it's not always easy to come into a new team and get the players playing for you.
And I guess that's the big point right there, that he came in already while the season was underway. Maybe you should give a share 5% nyana to Mangoba Mngqithi, having started the league title there. But I want to touch on Orlando Pirates. I mean, Orlando Pirates dominated goalkeeper, defender, midfielder. And I mean, a lot of other people saying that, Relebohile Mofokeng, definitely one of the standout players. But as far as the stats are concerned, you can't fault Ribeiro winning that. But also a worthy mention that Relebohile Mofokeng definitely had a very good season.
Yeah, fantastic season. At age 20, being one of the most influential players in the Orlando Pirates attack, at times, standing up as the man to be a match winner in some of the games. I remember that game that they won against Sundowns, for example, where he scored those 2 goals, and he was able to mature. He's been able to mature so quickly as a player and become so important for Orlando Pirates. So hardly a surprise that he won Young Player of the Season. And you mentioned the others, like Sibisi, for example. You get people talking about Sundowns winning the league, like I mentioned, and expecting Sundowns players to win those individual awards. But what Nkosinathi Sibisi did for Pirates last season was great. He stepped in as the leader at the back, and his game, I think, even improved as well. And he's always doing well at national team level whenever given an opportunity. Makhaula, for me, was a top midfielder last season, over 35, but he's still delivering, or he was delivering the way he was. And guys like Debza, Grant Kekana did not really play as many games as maybe I would have liked for them to play to be even considered to win these awards. Yes, as nominees, great, but to win the awards, I felt that the Orlando Pirates guys had a bit of an edge in this one.
Sipho Chaine versus Ronan Williams? Was it also a tight one, or one of those where you say it came down to the numbers?
It might have been tighter with Sipho Chaine and maybe Chipazeze.
Yeah.
Because Chipazeze playing for a team like Magezi, first time in the top flight as a team, he was incredible. He played such an important role, especially in the second half of the season where they started moving away from the bottom of the table and kept quite a few important clean sheets for the team. An inspirational figure, and I felt that if you were to put them in a certain order, Sipho Chaine would be at the top, with Chipazeze at second, and Ronan Williams coming in at third. I think Ronan played about 17 games. I stand to be corrected, and yes, kept quite a number of clean sheets. But when you look at Chipazeze, for example, the amount of shots he faces as a goalkeeper when you're playing for a team like Magezi, you are always going to be tested by the opposition, and he did well. Sipho Chaine as well came to the rescue of Pirates on quite a number of occasions, because at times the Pirates defense was at fault or was suspect and they were caught, but he came to the party and helped them. So if I were to put them in an order, like I say, it would be Chaine, Chipazeze, then Ronan at the bottom.
Tshepang, let me throw you under the bus a little bit as we end this conversation. Is the league starting on time, considering what the arbitration has ruled in the case of Cape Town City?
I think it will.
All right. Very short, straight into the point. Tshepang Mailwane, thank you so much for coming through to speak to us. Tshepang Mailwane from Soccer Laduma. They're talking to us about the PSL Awards that took place last night. And it was Lucas Ribeiro Costa who was the big winner on the day, but also Orlando Pirates dominating in all the other awards.